Hello. Okay. So I'm gonna double check that I'm actually live because last time I tried to go live, it didn't work. So let me just see. I'm like on my channel trying to make sure this is working. Okay. Last time I tried to go live, it was trying to force me to double authenticate whatever to log in and yeah, it was a whole thing and then I gave up. So, and my cat left. I purposefully uh, did that weird camera angle to get both of my cats in frame, but she doesn't like it when I start randomly talking while she's trying to sleep, which is fair. So, ignore how awful my hair looks. I don't know what's going on with that. Um, I really need to dye it. It looks awful, but it is what it is. Um, so this is Chester. I don't know how much he's been in videos. This is my newer cat. I got him last year. He is an orange boy, one brain cell, all that stuff that you hear about orange cats is true. Um, he's very sweet. He's turned into a cuddly boy. Um, and yeah, he's just hanging out, taking a nap. So, um, updates. So, I've been trying to get back into doing reno projects, but I think I really ran out of steam with doing the kitchen because that was such a big undertaking towards the beginning of the year that I hadn't planned on. I think I mentioned in the video that I hadn't actually planned on doing the kitchen this year, but I came across the microwave on Marketplace that was the exact like I was looking for an all white over the range microwave and found one on Marketplace for 50 bucks. That was the exactly what I had been looking to buy, and that kind of kicked off me starting on the kitchen, which, as you may know, the microwave still hasn't been put in. It is ready to be installed. Like, I have all the cabinets in place to be able to install it, but I have to run the electrical for it before it can actually be hooked up. That's been like a whole thing. My uncle was supposed to help me run the electrical, and it's just been like a whole thing. So, yeah. Anyway, I hadn't planned on doing the kitchen for this year, and then kind of just unexpectedly decided to start working on it, and then pushed off doing the big built-in in the dining room until next year, which is still the plan to do that built-in next year because that's one of the last really big projects that I wanted to get done for the house. And once that built-in is done, then I will have the storage for all of my books, which are currently kind of spread out because I took down some of the shelves in the living room. I'm considering if I want to take down the other two shelves because that's kind of like the last thing to get the living room fully done is that those shelves need to come down because I don't plan on keeping them up. So I'm trying to decide if I want to do that. I did the two shelves I already took down, I actually hung up in my spare bedroom. So now I have like the shelves up there and I have like a TV set up in that room just because I had a spare TV after replacing the one in the living room. So those shelves, other than the TV being on the shelves are completely empty. So I could temporarily relocate my books upstairs so that I can get these shelves down and have like the final setup for the living room. So I've been debating that if I want to relocate those upstairs because the shelves in the dining room aren't going to be done until like this time next year. So I still have like a full year before I'll be able to move all of them out there because I'm being realistic. The small built-in that I did in the bathroom took me almost 3 months, and the built-in in the dining room is going to be way bigger than that, like substantially bigger than that. I am hoping that all of the stuff I learned from doing the built-in in the bathroom will help me with the built-in in the dining room. Because a lot of the issues that I had in the bathroom involved the demo process, which I won't be demoing anything for the dining room. And then I also had a lot of issues with the sanding. For some reason, I kept sanding and I wasn't like getting the finish that I wanted and blah blah blah. I feel like I would go into it um, better off after having done that. So I am hoping all of that previous experience helps, but it's still going to take at least the same amount of time because it's so much bigger. So all the time that I'll spend not having to demo and not having the same issues um, is going to be taken up by the fact that it's just a way bigger project. I also have to like build out like a base for it so that it sits up off the ground. So it's kind of like I'm almost building like four separate shelves plus a base. So it's almost like five projects in one. But yeah, I that's why I'm not expecting that to be done until like almost this time next year because the plan is to start on it around March because that's when it starts to get nicer outside. So I'll be able to like um, go outside to do like the cutting and the sanding and all of that because I'm going to be working with really big pieces of plywood. Um, so March is like the goal around March April to start on it. So if it takes, like I said, at least 3 months, probably longer to get it done, then that'll take me to like around October. So yeah, long story short, not so short, is that I'm thinking it might make more sense to just relocate my books if it's going to be almost a year before I can put them where I want them to ultimately go. It feels kind of silly that I put these shelves up in the living room. Um, it was almost a full year after I moved in that I finally got the shelves up to put my books on, and now I'm taking them back down. Um, but at the time, I hadn't planned on doing built-in in the dining room. That was something I thought of doing like a year ago. So I initially the plan was that these shelves were going to just always be there. So it made sense at the time to put the shelves up. But then, like I said, at some point I got the idea to do the big built-in, and I think it just makes sense for me at least to have the built-in out there um, for the shelf space. And like I said, it will have the bench at the window, and it's going to be in the dining room. So if in the future someone's living here and wants to use that space as a dining room, it can double as like, is it banquet? Banquet? What's the word? It's something like that. Banquet seating. It's like the bench, the built-in bench seating that people do around dining tables. Like blanking on the proper way to say that word. but it'll still function as a dining room is basically what I'm saying because it'll have the bench there and you can use that as seating for the table. So there is like a thought process there of it like being functional for me, but also in the future. And with the way this house is laid out, because there's so many doors and so many windows, it does lack storage space. There's only one small closet on the first floor, and that's the closet that I turned into a pantry in the kitchen. So there isn't any kind of coat closet or anything now on the first floor. Um, so I also have the thought process of I'm going to leave it as open shelving, but in the future, someone could put doors on it and use it as closed storage, and it could function as a coat closet. So, like, a lot of thought has gone into this, honestly. And it's right by the front door, so it like can function as a sort of like mud room where you could store shoes and all of that. So, yeah, I'm trying to put like a lot of thought into the changes that I make in the house, that it's not just functional for me in the moment, but makes sense for the house like in the future, if that makes sense. Because I don't want to like put all this time and effort into making these changes for myself just to know that like in the future someone might just like rip it out. That's obviously going to be like in the way future, but um it's still like wasteful, I guess. If I, spend the money on all of that wood just to know that in the future someone would like rip it all out, is really wasteful. So I don't want to make a change like that unless I think that it makes sense for the house and is something that um would be like a permanent change to the house, if that makes any sense. Um, Kind of like with the built-in in the bathroom, like that feels like a permanent change to the house. It doesn't feel like something that would ever need to be ripped out, if that makes sense. Like I don't know. I don't know if that makes sense or not, but it's one of those things that like I watch a lot of like reno stuff and you see like all this stuff being ripped out and it just feels so wasteful because like someone in the past made this like change that made no sense. So then you've got to like rip it all out, and then you have like all these materials that go to waste. That's kind of how I feel with the basement of ripping out all of that paneling. Like what a waste. Because I'm probably not going to be able to reuse the paneling for anything. So it just feels really wasteful, and it's wasteful because someone made a stupid choice in the past to put the paneling up. So, yeah, I hopefully that makes sense. But um anyway, my plan for this month, because I realize it's already been a month since my last video upload, is that I wanted to finally upload the bedroom video, which I still have not finished because I haven't recorded the like final reveal video yet for literally no reason. I just haven't recorded it. I keep forgetting about it, honestly. So, we'll see if I can actually manage to get that finished and uploaded in the next few days. I have the whole video already edited. I just need to add, like, record and add the last uh, reveal at the end. Um, the room's like been done for a while. I just haven't recorded it. So yeah. Um, what else? I haven't, like I said, I haven't really been working on much. Um, I didn't really anticipate, but obviously October, because I'm super into horror, I usually try to like actually allow myself for the month of October to like fully enjoy October and like have it be a fun like horror themed month where I try and watch tons of horror content. So pretty much for like the entirety of October, that was where my focus was just watching uh horror movies and TV shows, and I didn't rewatch as much as I was hoping I would. I rewatched a ton of stuff last year. I actually was like really happy with how much I managed to rewatch. I didn't watch nearly that much this year, but I did rewatch a couple of my favorites. Um, Watched a couple new films that I hadn't seen before. October is great for horror releases, obviously. A lot of people plan out horror films to be released in the month of October for obvious reasons. So I watched a few new things that came out, and I played Resident Evil 7. Finally. I'm what, like, when did that come out? I'm like 5 or 6 years late to that. I've owned the game for over a year and just finally played it. And I considered making a whole video about all of the things I hate about Resident Evil 7. I know that most people absolutely love 7 and think that it was one of the best of the franchise. Um, I'm pretty sure it's like unequivocally, unequivocally, it doesn't sound right as I'm saying it, but I think that's it. I think everyone agrees that 4 is the best Resident Evil game. I could be wrong, but from everything I've read and seen, I think everyone agrees that 4 is the best. And then like 2, 7, and 8, I think are all like right behind, right? So I would agree also. I haven't played all of the games, obviously. I definitely have not played all of the games. I've only played a few of them. I have watched people play a lot of the ones that I haven't played. I had a friend when I was a kid that loved the Resident Evil games, and I watched him play through just about all of them, but I have not played them myself. But I do agree that like those are 4 is obviously the best one. Um, I don't think I've ever played the original Resi 2, but I've obviously played the remake, which I think is amazing. The Resident Evil 2 remake is honestly like my second favorite of the ones that I've played. Um, and I think 7 is good, but 7 is so close to being as good as 4. It's so close. But there's like these few elements in the game that make it so annoying. Like, it's like if they just made these couple tiny changes, the game would have been so much better. And so that's why I like thought about after playing it. I've played the main campaign and I've played a little bit of the DLC. Um I think I've mainly only played is it Jack's 55th birthday, I think is the name of the one DLC. I think that's pretty much the only one I've played so far. But I did the whole like main campaign on normal difficulty or whatever. Um and I did enjoy it, just to be clear. I thought it was super fun. It is actually scary. All the ambient noises in the game are actually really creepy if you play them like you have like a headset on. If you have a headset on and you play 7 in a house by yourself, it's got all this ambient background noise of like people walking around and like doors opening and closing and stuff, and it's actually really creepy. It sounds really realistic. Um, but yeah, the couple elements in it that just really irk me. The you can't skip cutscenes. which like makes replaying the game extremely aggravating. The whole like first like 20 minutes of the game is just like a bunch of cutscenes back to back to back, and you can't skip anything. It makes it so annoying to go into like a second playthrough. Same with the fact that it doesn't have New Game Plus, which is one of the best features of Resident Evil 4 and is what makes 4 so much fun to replay. And yet they didn't put it in 7. Like makes no sense to me at all because I think I think this is the thing that irks me the most. And then I'll stop talking about this. Resident Evil 4 is such a perfect game. They figured out the formula of what makes a good Resident Evil game. They figured it out. They have 4. They know what to do. And then they make 7, which is has so many similarities to 4, and yet they changed things for the worse, and it just doesn't make any sense. Like, I just cannot fathom why they wouldn't have put New Game Plus in 7. It's such a weird choice to me, and I don't get it. Like, when I finished out my first playthrough of 7, I immediately went in to do New Game Plus because I wanted to replay it again, and then realized that it wasn't a feature in the game and was baffled. So I have not replayed it because when I realized that New Game Plus didn't exist, so I went in to start a new save file, and it takes such a long time to actually get into the game and get past that first, like I said, it's like 20 minutes at the beginning of the game where like nothing happens. It's just a bunch of cutscenes and you walking through the house. It's really annoying for a second playthrough. So, yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's a me problem, but I thought it was really stupid. But yeah, other than like I said, the few things that really irk me about it that just feel like the tiniest changes that they could have made and the game would have been like a top contender with 4 for me. Um like they were just so close to making the perfect game. So I that's what really aggravates me is that it's like so close to being perfect. But yeah, what I was saying is I didn't like do anything the whole month of October because I was just enjoying the spooky season and watching horror stuff and playing Resi 7. I'm excited to now that I've played 7, I want to play 8 because I do also own Resi 8. I'm hoping that soon I will buy the Resi 4 remake because I do want to play that. But yes, so nothing around the house got done for the month of October. Now we're at the tail end of November. I'm trying to um, do what I did last year, where um, at the tail end of the year, I tried to like get as many projects completed before the end of the year as I could. That was like a really good way to go into the new year last year. So I'm kind of trying to like compile a list of things that I could finish before the end of the year. Um, so yeah, the whole idea of like all these little things around the house that I'm like, oh, I need to do that or I need to do that. It's just like a little things that only take like 5 to 10 minutes, that you kind of put off because you're like, oh, that won't take long to do. Um, for me, it's a lot of patching of the walls from moving things around. It's really aggravating that I have like all this patchwork that needs done of like holes that I've made in the walls. Like with taking these shelves down, like I made all these holes in the walls putting these shelves up a couple years ago just to now have to take them down and patch holes. Um, it's really annoying, but yeah, it took a little bit of moving things around to find kind of like the final placement for things. Obviously, when I first moved in, I didn't have all the things that I have now. I've bought in a few things for the house since moving in. So that obviously affects like where you decide to place things. If like I now have this shelf that I didn't have before, well, I got to make room for that, so this needs to move and blah blah blah. But I feel like I'm getting close to figuring out final placements for things. So I've got a lot of holes in the walls that need patched, and that's something that doesn't take long to do, but is tedious. And I also like it drives my perfectionist brain crazy because I always like I'm like I can tell that the wall's been patched and I don't know how to make it look like a seamless patch. That's some sort of sorcery that I have not been able to figure out. I feel like um, seamless patching, I feel like doesn't exist. You can always tell that the section of the wall has been patched because the texture's off, and I just don't know how to hide that. I've tried a lot of different techniques and I just like cannot figure it out. But maybe it's just something like the more and more you do it, you like figure out ways to make it look more seamless. But yeah, I haven't been able to figure it out. I can always see the spots where I've patched the walls. Um, I think the problem is that when you like see people in videos do it, you can't like see in the video that the texture's off because it's something that you can only really see in person and not through video. So in video it always looks perfect, but in person you can tell. I don't know. That's my theory anyway. But yeah, that's kind of my thought process of like if I can get all of this patching done, then I can finally do the like fresh coat of paint that I want to do downstairs. I've really been putting that off because I was just so done with painting. I did so much patching. This is the problem. I did so much patching and painting when I first moved in that I was just like burnt out on it for years afterwards because it was just so much that I did that first like almost 2 years that I was here. I was just like constantly with like recalking like all the trim and stuff and all that kind of things, like patching cracks and things like that. There was just like a lot of cosmetic stuff that needed done in the house because it was a rental property for so many years. There wasn't someone living here that like cared about fixing those things, if that makes sense. Usually when it's like a rental property and renters are living in the place, they're not making those kinds of changes because they're just renting. So um there were just a lot of things over the years cosmetically that had been ignored because it was a rental property. So yeah, it was a lot when I first moved in, and like now I'm trying to um get like all the more finer, like the really tiny cracks that like are harder to see but are still there, like patching that kind of stuff. Like I said, the holes that I've made from moving things around and all that kind of stuff. And then eventually finding it within myself to paint the rooms again because boy oh boy, I think I mentioned how awful the experience was of painting the living room and dining room the first time, um, because there are so many doors and windows. There's tons of trim that needs to be painted around. And when I painted that first year, I taped everything off, and just taping off all of the trim took such a long time that I think this time when I paint, I actually just want to freehand all of the trim and just do the best that I can because I don't even think it's worth trying to tape everything off. I think I'd be better off just trying to freehand paint the trim because um, yeah, after doing all that taping the first time, I was already over it and I hadn't even painted the rooms yet. I was just like, by the time I got all the tape up, I already didn't want to paint because it took so long to tape everything off. So, yeah, that's the plan for the second um time around of doing the painting is to not tape off because yeah, it was too much and like what a waste because it took so much tape to do everything. I think like I went through multiple rolls of tape to do all the trim. So yeah, I think I'm just gonna freehand it, like just use a nice brush and take my time and freehand the trim. Um, but yeah, obviously super time consuming and it drives me crazy. But yeah, it's already been a half hour. I don't know how I always talk so long during these things, but I find it helpful to do these streams where I just kind of like stream of conscience. I can't pronounce things today. Um, to basically just talk and like get all my thoughts out. I think it's like very helpful to like say your thoughts out loud and just speak them and kind of like get them out of your head and said out loud can be very helpful. So, yeah, that's what's been going on. Like I said, tail end of the year, no big projects planned. Um, just trying to wrap up on all of these different small details that um, I haven't gotten to. I did do some more work in my yard, which I did a whole video about my yard. I want to say that was at least a year ago. I mentioned that there was like a ton of stuff that needed done out in my yard and that I have a very big backyard. It's I could fit like two more of like my house in my yard. It's super long. I don't use it for anything. It's just a very big open yard. But I mentioned that there was like a lot of things that I had like brush that I had to clean up and like saplings that had to be cut down and ivy that needed to be removed and like all this different stuff and digging out the area under my porch to create like a storage shed. And recently I removed the last tree stump that was in my yard. I'd already removed like two of them. I had one more bigger one that I still needed to remove, and I finally got that out. And that was like one of the last things in the yard that needed to be like removed, that was left from when I bought the house. And now my big thing is that I'm like creating a patio area out back, which is going to be awesome for like projects because it's right outside of the basement door that I've shown in previous videos. So it's going to be awesome to have like a little patio space right outside the basement where I can like go out to like sand stuff and cut stuff. Um, so I don't have like all the sawdust in the basement. So I'm excited about that. And I'm doing it all with like reusing materials that I already had because I had this like paver pathway in my yard that I didn't use because it was kind of in like a weird spot, so it never got used. So like I took up all of those pavers and I'm going to reuse them to create this little patio area. So I'm excited about that. It obviously is like a bit of a project, but honestly probably the least uh intense of any of the projects I've done outside because I've done a lot of um, digging out there of like removing things from the yard. So this is actually like nothing compared to the other things that I've done. And it's one of the last major things that I want to do in the yard. So yeah, I did do. a little bit of more yard work the last few months, but we're finally getting into the cold season now where I live. Now, like tail end of November, it's finally getting cold and like snowed yesterday. It's so crazy. Like it used to be by October, it was like already cold out. Now we're like the season's gotten pushed back so much that we were still having nice weather in November is insane. But yeah, it's finally like gotten cold and is staying cold where I live. So, it probably won't warm back up until, like I said, March-ish is usually when it starts to get nicer outside again. So, probably will be calling it a wrap on any yard work for the rest of the year. Um, the day that I removed the tree stump was one of the like last like decently nice days that uh we're supposed to have, I think. So, yeah, that's pretty much it, I think. Um, gonna try to, like I said, do the bedroom video. That's like one of the last videos that I have planned, I think. Um, and then, like I said, just doing like all the tiny little finishing touches, I think, around the house for the rest of the year, and then we'll see how that goes. I'm kind of hoping that like I'll gain some momentum and like motivation because I don't feel like I've had very much motivation to work on the house lately. So we'll see. I am excited about doing the built-in next year. Hopefully, that pans out and I'm able to do that next year. Um, but I don't know. Like I said, I planned on originally, the plan was to do it this year, and then I ended up doing the kitchen instead. So, uh, just have to wait and see if anything else comes up. But that is the plan for next year is to work on that built in. And I would likely do videos on that. It would probably be multiple videos, I think, because it's gonna take so long. Um, I think I would probably do multiple parts of that project. Um, but yeah, I'm excited about it. I think it's gonna be super fun. Um, maybe not so much fun the actual building process. I'm probably gonna get like burnt out on it because it is a lot of work. But I think it's gonna be so awesome when it's done and it's gonna function so well for me that I'm just like I'm getting excited about like the finished product of like making these changes in the house that just make the house function really well, which was like the awesome thing about the kitchen with like all of the storage that I added. The kitchen functions so much better now, um, that I can like actually enjoy the change that I made because a lot of the changes I make are just cosmetic, so it's not like functional changes. Whereas the kitchen, a lot of the changes I made were functional changes, just like the shelf in the bathroom that I built was a functional change because I added more storage. The shelves in the dining room are a functional change because I'm creating a bunch of shelf space to be able to store all of my books, and I'm gonna have a bunch of shelf space to be able to put knickknacks on, which I don't really have a lot of space for right now because I don't have a lot of shelf space around the house. So I'm excited to be able to actually like have display shelves where I can put knickknacks and things. Because I have like started to acquire knickknacks. Um, a lot of them are in my bathroom right now, but yeah, I acquired a lot of like vintage pieces from my grandma that are really cool to have sat around, and then just kind of like collecting things over time. So yeah, I want to be able to display these cool little knickknacks, and that'll give me tons of shelf space to actually be able to set things out. And like I said, also store my books, which is something that I actually need space for. So yeah, I think that's pretty much it. I've talked for a while. I feel like got got all the thoughts out of my head, but yes, my cat is still here. Can you see him? There he is. Um, so yes, that's pretty much it. I don't know if I'll do very many videos for the rest of the year. Like I said, the bedroom video was like one of the last ones that I had planned. So once I get that uploaded, I don't know like what else I might do. So I might not have any videos for a couple months, but that'll be good because then I can focus on just getting all these little projects done instead of like making videos about them. But sometimes making the video motivates me to get the project done, so it's kind of like um, a back and forth of like taking the time to make the video, but then also making the video motivates me to work on the project. So, yeah, that's pretty much it. Chester's being very cute. All right, that's all for this update, and I'll see you soon, maybe.